Greetings, everyone. I am Lotus Prince, and here I am to do a Q&A session. I got a bunch of questions from people from, mostly from YouTube, but also from some different places. So here I am, ready to answer those questions, and I don't know, I don't have a better introduction than this. So let's get started. The first person I have is T-Kun Unusual Wordsmith from Manic Expression. What are my thoughts on a Ratchet and Clank movie? Or no, they actually are making a Ratchet and Clank movie, aren't they? So what are my thoughts on that? I mean, I think it's a pretty good idea, honestly. That's one of those games that, like, there are lots of games where you really probably shouldn't adapt them into movies, but Ratchet and Clank I could definitely see working. I mean, a lot of the game is kind of a grind fest regarding upgrading your guns, but as far as the basic plot structure goes, I can easily see those being turned into movies. So that would certainly be an interesting idea. I'd totally buy it, especially with the sheer idiocy of Captain Quark getting in the way of everything, really. I mean, I'm not normally the kind of person who'd be like first in line for moves of that sort. Like, I have zero interest, in the Warcraft movie, but Ratchet and Clank, give me Quark and Nefarious, I'm there. Maybe not day one, but I'd see it. Hardcore Henry. Yeah, if you don't know, Hardcore Henry is, it looks like a video game movie. Like, it looks like a scene from Mirror's Edge or something. The whole movie's in the first person, so you get a lot of those things where you see the character's hands kind of coming out of the camera. It's weird because I get what they're doing when they do that, but this movie, video games, I don't know, that's never really how first person looks. Probably because I don't know if it's really possible to do this, but in the first person we have just about 180-degree vision. I can kind of see what's going on to my right and left right now without looking around or even moving my eyes. So there's that, but also you focus on different things at once. There's something that's just weird about being completely focused on everything on the screen that's in front of you, and you just see your hands, like, whoa, like, people don't really move like that. But that said, the movie itself, it's basically one gigantic video game cutscene, assuming the entire movie's in the first person, so I don't know how good the movie will be, or even if it'll be any good, but it's certainly an ambitious project, and I'm happy that they're making it. Are there any monsters or legends that could translate well into a game setting that I would, like, give a shot, if given the chance? That's a difficult one. I mean, the answer is yes, but I don't know if I could, I don't know how easily I could think of specific things. One thing I would like to see, though, very much, is something like the God of War games, except across different cultural beliefs, I guess. Like, with God of War, we have the Greek pantheon, right? And Dante's Inferno, which is absolutely God of War, except with Christianity. Look at that game. It's freaking God of War and a half. I would also like to see, I don't know if it has to be God of War every single time, but something like that with the Norse gods would be great. I very much appreciate that games like Smite exist, which I don't play them because I have zero interest in MOBAs, but at the same time, I'm really happy that they're bringing in gods of all sorts of different religions and mythologies, if only because it gives them exposure. It's kind of cool. Like, what about Amaterasu as not a dog? Like, it's just kind of cool to see stuff like that. So that I'd give a shot if given the chance. Yeah, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I would totally do a God of War of another mythology, but I mean, there are other games with cultures that I would play, like other game styles with different cultures that I'd play. I just, like, it's really hard for me to think offhand, but yes, I would. Favorite book or books that'd be great to play as a game? That's tough. Even regarding favorite books, that's kind of tough. Because I don't know if I really have a favorite book, but there are books that I'd like. I'm just trying to think of books that I've read recently, because a lot of what I've been reading recently, and this is answering somebody else's question a little early, is some of those compilation books from Barnes & Noble, so I haven't been reading a full novel lately, for example. So I don't know. I wouldn't call this my favorite book by any stretch of the word, but there's Battle Royale is an interesting book that'd be cool to see as a game. Although I know for a fact that that's already happened, and it's called Danganronpa. More on that later. Oof. I don't know. That's really hard. We have Lovecraft games. There's a bunch of Sherlock Holmes games. Fairy tale games, but I don't know if I could think of like the title of a book specifically, unfortunately. But yes, it would be very interesting to see books adapted into games, and I very much like that. That's already a thing, not overly mainstream, but it is a thing. Like we have Parasite Eve was a sequel to Parasite Eve, the game sequel to the book. Metro 2033, from what I hear, is based on a book, so it's really cool that you don't need a movie first, to get the games. Like The Witcher is based on a book series, which is pretty cool. So there's stuff like that. Any retro 80s games that I would consider playing? Sure, although I don't know if I could think of any offhand, because retro 80s, like that is not my field. I'm a 90s kid. 80s is stuff like, those really old arcade games that, like, if you actually sat me down and got me to play one, then I would have fun with it. But I don't go to arcades and look for the 80s machines, If I ever get some kind of arcade compilation, actually I do have one. It's not over here, but I do have one for the GameCube, I believe. A bunch of Midway arcade hits, so it's got like Narc on it and stuff like that. I also wouldn't mind, my friend Vice has it, like the Taito arcade classics, because that has some really good stuff in there. So, I don't know, at some point. Okay. And then I think the rest of my questions are from YouTube. So we have Santiago Scarpino. Do I think that Resident Evil 4 is better than Resident Evil 2? It depends what you mean by better. Like, better in what way? Resident Evil 4, I would argue, is more fun than Resident Evil 2. Oh, I beat the hell out of that game. You would not believe how hyped that was when I first saw trailers for it. And I don't mean the Ghost trailer with the Hookman, as cool as that looked. When it got to actual gameplay trailers, even though it was different from that old trailer, I was all kinds of hyped. But Resident Evil 4, it does have more scary moments than I remember, to be fair. It does. But it's more of a third-person shooter with horror elements than survival horror. Again, I think it's more fun than Resident Evil 2, but I like Resident Evil 2 more as a Resident Evil game. I think it's my favorite Resident Evil game, rivaled only by the remake for the GameCube. And I cannot freaking wait for Resident Evil 2 remake. That would... Man, if that's like Remake 1, I'm good. No more video games for me, that's the peak. But yeah, I like Resident Evil 2 more than 4, even though 4 might be the better game, mainly because it's a Resident Evil game, and it's just so well made with the stories coinciding, and all the extra stuff you can do, and the true ending when you beat the game with both characters. It's super cool. Griffin Spade Lupin. Have I ever played Ratchet and Clank? Yes. I've played all of them except for all 4-1. Although, you know what? Correct me if there's another 4-player Ratchet and Clank, but I haven't played the 4-player ones. But I've played all of the ones on the PS2 and the PSP ones because they were they had PS2 ports. It was Size Matters and Secret Agent Clank. I played those. And I played the PS3 ones, Tools of Destruction, Quest for Booty, and A Crack in Time. And the last one. Oh, I played the Tower Defense one. I'm flaking on the title for that one for now. And Into the Nexus. Honestly, Into the Nexus, that game had a brilliant opening, but it just kind of... When I beat it, it was a good game, but you're not going to outdo Crack in Time. Crack in Time was unbelievable. Would I Let's Play Ratchet and Clank? Maybe. It's gotten to the point where I probably shouldn't outright say no to anything, but a lot of those games are grinding, grinding, grinding to get better weapons, and that would just kind of bog down gameplay unless I did that stuff off camera. For the stories, yeah, those are really good. I don't know, it's a possibility, but I wouldn't really make it a priority. Goth Lolly Lunatic. What kind of horror do I prefer in horror games, movies, etc.? Do I like psychological, supernatural, Lovecraftian, slasher, gore? I'd probably go with psychological, and Lovecraftian, I would argue, borders on the psychological, as the whole thing's about insanity anyway. Supernatural can be fun, but I mean, don't just make it like spooky ghosts. Like, there has to be something to it. I probably would go with psychological, and depending on my mood, maybe slasher, although it's debatable as to whether it's horror at that point. Because once you start cheering for the slasher, you know, you've kind of lost me as a horror movie, even though the movie itself may be fun to watch. Like, any of the Nightmare on Elm Streets are fun to watch, but they're not terrifying anymore after, like, the first movie. Maybe the second, I forgot. Unless you really conceptualize what's happening. Like, if that happened to you, it'd be the scariest thing ever. But when you're watching Freddy Krueger kill people and you're like, yeah, go Freddy, it's still fun to watch. Hellraiser was damn good, 1 and 2. 3 is where you lose me. In games, probably along those lines. I mean, Silent Hill is really good regarding creepy ambience and disturbing looking monsters. Resident Evil is more about the monsters themselves. Just don't overdo it with the jump scares. Jump scares can work, and in fact they can be brilliant, but don't make the game jump scares. Because then that's what you get. You know, you're playing Five Nights at Freddy and you're playing it wrong. Boo, jump scare. And that is why I have zero interest in us playing Five Nights at Freddy. Which do I find scarier? Again, probably psychological stuff, just because it really gets in your head. If you, like, I don't know if I'd consider this straight up a horror film, but this scared the living daylights out of me. At this point, people on the internet have probably heard of Adult Swim's Too Many Cooks video. Now, I'm not talking about that video, although that got disturbing. But maybe a little bit less well known is the movie that they made after that one called Unedited Footage of a Bear, where it's just some guy with his camera looking at a bear just sitting there and eating berries or whatever. And it's like, oh my god, so cool. And then all of a sudden you get that YouTube commercial thing, that like a commercial pops up and it does that thing where it counts down from 5 so you can skip it. But that doesn't work because it turns out the commercial is actually the intended video. Wow, that gets scary quickly. Like, that gets terrifying quickly. And it's a little difficult to describe why. I mean, go ahead and watch it. You can find it very easily on YouTube. But, man, that movie disturbed me for days. And I'm not saying, like, oh, man, that goes on for days. Like, I mean, seriously. Like, I was, like, creeped out by that for, like, more than one day. Oh, man. Saturn Otaku. Do I have any favorite games that I will not Let's Play, for whatever reason? Too long, too boring, etc. If you had asked me this last year, I probably would have said yes. At this point, there may be something where if you bring it to my attention, I might say, actually, I'd rather not. But, I don't know, I might. Like, even something like Skies of Arcadia, I would have said that game is goddamn long. Hell no. But it's been coming to a point where I kind of want to Let's Play Valkyria Chronicles, and then Vice and Ike are in that, so I kind of want to Let's Play Skies of Arcadia. I would probably hate the editing process, but I don't know, it'd be cool to just bring those games to light. That'd be super cool. So, I don't know, maybe. Lel 1, I don't know, it looks like 3 L's. And then the number 1, when's Deus Ex Invisible War? Good question. There's a whole lot of stuff I want to do, and I haven't done it because there's always something else. It drives me crazy. I really should do Deus Ex Invisible War. I finally have an Xbox and that game for the Xbox, so assuming that somehow doesn't kill my TV monitor and make it impossible to freaking record, I might be able to do it. I don't know when, though, unfortunately. I can never put a date on something. Even freaking the next thing I'm gonna do, it's difficult to put a date on it. But I certainly would like to do it, as lame an answer as that is. Carrick52. Seeing as I'm working through Clock Tower, have I played Haunting Ground / Demento? Yeah, they're the same. They're the same game. Different titles. European title is Demento. American title is Haunting Ground. I actually don't know what the Japanese title is, so I don't know which title is like the renamed one. But no, I have not played it, but I do own it. And again, once I go through the Clock Tower games, I will go through that one too. Chaos Saber. Have I seen the mobile remake of White Day yet? I've seen that it exists, and DJ Gamers actually sent me screenshots of it. Some of them look quite funny, actually, regarding the DLC. It's the most honest DLC I've ever seen. Like, buy this costume pack for, like, $2 or however much it is. If you do, it will help feed the developers, just, like, straight up. Like, we would be very appreciative. It's pretty funny. I don't plan on playing it, the mobile remake, though, because it's mobile. Number one, I don't like freaking mobile games, and number two, I don't know how I'd record it. But I heard it's hitting PlayStation, I think, 4, so I'll be all over it when it does. Salty nuts. I'm going to go ahead and assume peanuts or cashews. Do I think survival horror is dead? No. For AAA, maybe more than not, but even then it's still up there. You have like Dead Space 3 and stuff like that. They're still making them, although it's not everywhere like it was in the 90s and early 2000s, but it's still around. And indie stuff is really bringing it back. We have brand new games like Layers of Fear and like it's getting to be a year old now, like Soma, Dread Out, all sorts of stuff. So it's not dead if they're still making games for it. It may not be as mainstream as it used to be, but it's still there. What's by definition of survival horror? That's a little tricky because, I don't know, I tend to, I don't know if it's my definition, but I tend to picture your resources aren't so great because the more ammo you have, the less terrifying it is because you're just murdering everything. But I would imagine you have relatively few resources, it's kind of hard to survive, and it's genuinely a scary game. With older survival horror, you had manual saves, but then you have like Resident Evil 4 and Dread Out, which give you continues, so maybe we're getting a little more lenient in that regard, but that's kind of how I picture it. Kind of a vague definition, I know, I'm sorry, but I'm on the spot. What do I think of of the most recent games? In general, like this isn't the end of the question, but I'm liking what I see. But then he asks, or he or she, Alien Isolation and The Evil Within. I haven't played either. Evil Within looks fun. It's a Shinji Mikami game, so I look forward to it. Alien Isolation, I never really cared about playing the Alien games, but it looks cool. The whole idea of being stalked by the giant alien that you can't fight is brilliant. Although I heard you can fight it later. Like, you can't kill it, but you could fight it, and that kind of takes away from it, but it still sounds super cool. ET Studios. What made me decide to make a Let's Play channel? This is kind of interesting because I used to very much be against the idea of Let's Plays because I figured either I have not played these games and so I don't want to be spoiled, or I have and I don't need to see them because I played them. But back, like, I'm a member of channelawesome.com now, but back when it used to be thatguywiththeglasses.com, I was just posting in the blog section and like forums, and I followed one of the people on that site who's still there, Paw, like the cat's paw. And he had a couple of Let's Plays up, and again, I didn't care because they were Let's Plays, but all of a sudden one day I saw him do King's Quest V, and that's a game that outside my immediate family, and like one guy I knew from the 3rd grade, nobody knew of King's Quest. And this was just super nostalgic for me because it was one of my first games. So I was like, whoa, wait a second, someone's actually played this? Okay, let me see what he says about it. And right there, I kind of had a revelation about Let's Plays, is it's not necessarily the game, it's also the player. Because he did have amusing things to say about it, and he wasn't playing through the game like it was a walkthrough. He had a personality about it. He was being all jokey whenever he had to do those long and painful backtrack things because he forgot something. He like fast-forwarded the footage and played music behind it, and I was like, whoa, those are things that you can do. Okay, so after he played through the game, I actually asked him if he wouldn't mind if I did Let's Play of King's Quest VI, like dibs exist. But he was cool enough to say like, oh yeah, sure, go for it. I didn't do it then. I had technical difficulties recording the game because it's pretty damn hard to play the Windows 95 or 98, whatever it is, CD, and I never did. I played the DOS version on GOG. No, it was before I got it on GOG. But the point is I played the DOS version, but either way, it took me like a year before I recorded it, so I did other stuff before then. And at this point, I watch multiple different Let's Players who have even sometimes played the same games in different ways because I want to see their take on it. And I've had people say the same to me. Like, I've watched this person Let's Play it, now I'm watching you Let's Play it because I want to see what you think of it. It's kind of an interesting phenomenon. And then I just kind of went from there. Semisfan 1989. How long will I continue making LPs, and what would make me stop? I'll continue them, like, I certainly don't have a stopping point now, so let's go ahead and say indefinitely. What would make me stop? I don't know. There would have to be, like, unless I change my mind later, there would have to be something that directly interferes with my ability to make them. Dragon Ace SG7. I've seen recent commentary that females are put into survival horror so they can be hurt and afraid, and I don't really agree with that. Many of the survival horror games I've seen with a female protagonist have them facing things head-on. Parasite Eve, Fatal Frame, etc. Do you think girls get put into games just to be afraid, so the player can rescue them? Do I think that that happens? Probably. In general, I'm going to say no, pretty much for the reasons that you did. They tend to be badass, especially people like Heather from Silent Hill 3. She finished the game by kicking God in the face. Literally. She kicked him in the face. Or I guess her, considering who it was. Do I think it happens? Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's always, like, there's a fetish for everything. So, and, like, you know, like, it's kind of famous that Wonder Woman first started with, like, in the 30s or 40s, and, like, so many of her covers had her, like, just tied to things because that's how the artist, I guess, got his kicks, and it's like, okay, buddy. So do I think that it happens in some video games? Probably. I could kind of buy it happening for the Tomb Raider reboot, actually. I don't know about Rise of the Tomb Raider, but the Tomb Raider reboot, PS3 360, it's now for PS4 1 and Steam, but I could kind of buy that situation, even though Lara does take charge. There's a whole lot of, especially at the beginning of the game, that kind of feeling, that kind of vibe, even though she gets badass later. But in survival horror, I don't know if I can think of examples offhand. I'll bet you it does happen, but I'd probably go more with they really do tend to confront what they have head on. Even in Clock Tower, you really do play as someone who just, like, can't do anything about the killers, and she still manages to deal with them at the end, even if passively. So, yeah, I don't know. I'd imagine the female protagonists tend to be more badass than a lot of people might think. Also, this is that question I was referring to earlier. Read any books lately? Yes. Again, though, I haven't read a novel lately. I've been reading those Barnes & Noble compilations, so I'm currently reading Fairy Tales from Around the World. The previous thing I read was the complete collection of Sherlock Holmes, and, I forgot what I read immediately before that. It might have been Aesop's Fables, or, maybe even, the works of Lewis Carroll. So, yes, I've been occupying myself. Madame Scarlet Phantom and Kuromishu. Would I play the remake of White Day? Yeah, like, I'd asked, someone had asked if, Chaos Saber asked if I'd seen the mobile remake of it, and these two people are asking if I would play it. Yes, absolutely. I look forward to it. Zuku. How do I decide which games to play? On a whim? Do I have a list? It's usually kind of on a whim. I would only go so far as to say I have a list if I'm doing a series of something. Like, I'm gonna play Fatal Frame 3 after Fatal Frame 2. Speaking of which, I gotta get on 5. I have too much stuff to play. It's actually kind of frustrating. But then again, that's a problem you'll want to have. Like Resident Evil games. I'm gonna keep going through Resident Evil games. I just need to get back to Resident Evil. Clock Tower. I'm gonna do Clock Tower 1, 2, 3. American names. 1, 2, 3. Haunted Grounds. I think that's it before Nightcry. Chris C. Did I check out Undertale? I have not watched playthroughs because I don't want to be spoiled. I got it on GOG, but I did not yet play it. I hear it's the greatest game ever, so I look forward to that too. Neko Green Dragon. I see Night Trap on your shelf. When are you gonna play that? Yeah. Yeah, here we go. I don't know if you can see it. Okay, yeah, you're on camera. Yes, you can see it. The red box over here. Oh man, I don't know when I'm gonna play that. That game looks like a pain in the ass, even if it's really amusing. I probably would play it at some point, but I couldn't tell you when. Although I totally gotta do Double Switch after that, because that'd be funny. Jason Lee. Are there games that I miss out on because they don't fit what I want on the channel? No. If I want to play it, I'll play it. It just won't be on the channel. Like, I've been playing through the Yakuza games lately. I'm currently working my way through 4. Those games just take... Again, those games take goddamn forever, and some of the cutscenes alone go for like a half hour. But I have fun with them. Do I have much time to play games outside of the ones I LP? Not as much as I would like, honestly. Like, when I'm uploading Let's Plays that I've finished editing, I'll dick around and play games on my own. Of course, I can't be recording when I do that. I can only play one game at a time, so it does kind of cut into... Like, my playing cuts into my playing. Have I ever thought about what sort of games I would make, if I were to make them? Not really. The closest I come is thinking about a game I am playing, what I might have done differently. But I never really think of the situation, if you just gave me millions of dollars and told me to make a game, what would I do? Like, I don't know. I'm not really interested in the design aspect of games, to be perfectly honest. I could say, like, oh, you know, it'd be cool, maybe this kind of game, but I don't know about anything regarding specifics. Settings, stories, creatures in a game that I haven't been in, that I feel haven't been in a game before. Yeah, probably. Actually, this is just because it's a little topical. We have a new Doom coming out. What I would really like to have seen is Doom 2 modernized. Like, I would really love to see Hell on Earth. Because even Doom 2 doesn't really feel like I'm on Earth. It all just feels like I'm running through levels and killing demons. I would love to see just, you're running through a suburb or a city or something, and there's just Hellspawn. That'd be awesome. Same goes with Resident Evil. 2 kind of did it at the very, very beginning. But I would love to see more games where you're actually going from house to house in a neighborhood or something, and there are zombies. I would love that. I know some games kind of do that, but it'd be interesting to really get a feel of the town instead of, oh my god, there are running zombies chasing me, and where do I go? Like, I know there are games that kind of do it. I think Dying Light might do it, and Dead Rising does a great job with the whole mall aspect of it. But it would just be cool to see a bit of a slower-paced game, where you could just maneuver through a neighborhood. It'd be interesting. There's probably already something like that out there, but I haven't really played it. J-Dog, V45. Do I think I would ever do a Let's Play with Pushing Up Roses? Do I think I ever will? I don't know for sure, but I would love to. We both love macabre, and we both love point-and-click games, although there are other things I could think of that I would enjoy playing with her if ever given the opportunity. That would be something I would very much look forward to if I could ever get that to happen. Also, how many Alice shirts have I gone through? Am I still wearing my original? My original. There's a thing I got in 2011 or something. The secret is I only wear this thing at cons and when I'm on camera. Like, I don't say, this is what I'm wearing today. Like, I really try to keep use minimal. Okay. Last page. Maria M. Now that Konami is pretty much nearing its deathbed because of poor decisions, do I think we might see another Silent Hill game if another company buys the rights? Maybe even hire Kojima to work on them. Do I think I might... Like, if another company buys the rights, then yeah, sure. If so, would I LP them? Hell yeah. That said, though, unfortunately, I would not say that Konami is nearing its deathbed. I mean, maybe as far as the West is concerned, maybe we're not going to be getting more games from Konami anytime soon, but Konami still has Yu-Gi-Oh! Just Yu-Gi-Oh! Like the card game. Not to mention, it's been focusing on mobile games and gambling machines, and I'm sorry to say it, but That's where the profit's at. It really is. I've heard Konami's actually been doing a little bit better since then, which sucks because it has so many awesome franchises like Castlevania, Silent Hill, Metal Gear Solid, what was it called? Contra, and there's a bunch of other stuff. I don't know if it's really in the Metal Gear Solid universe, but Police Knots, Snatcher, that's all in the Kojima universe though. But there's other stuff like Gradius. I actually have the Hardcore Gaming 101 book that's just on a whole bunch of Konami games. There's a lot of Konami stuff. And it just kills me that we might not see more of those in not gambling machine form. But Konami, I think might actually be doing better since it made this horrible, horrible decision. So from an economic standpoint, it was not a horrible decision. Arc out of reach. Do I have a job outside of YouTube? Or is YouTube my primary income / job? Oh yeah, I have jobs outside YouTube. This is most definitely not my primary income job. Be nice if it were, but it's not. I teach and tutor. Link Thug Life. Can I do a Resident Evil 0 Let's Play? Hell yeah. When I get to it, as I go through the Resident Evil games. I love 0. Oh, okay. A non-Decepticon. Will I do Haunting Ground? Yes. Again, a previous question asked if I had it. Oh no. Oh no, yeah, the previous question from Saturn Otaku, or no, from Carrick52 asked if I played it, and Ananda Decepticon's asking if I will Let's Play it. So, yes I will, go into the Clock Tower series. Monish Pradeep, any plans to do Devil May Cry or God of War? I'm really not interested in playing Devil May Cry. I have lots of fun watching it, but I don't have interest in playing it. Even off camera. God of War, maybe at some point I'd just be afraid if it got too repetitive. Like, more goons, press square. I know it's more about the cutscenes as far as Let's Playing goes. I don't know, maybe. Not really a priority, but I wouldn't say no to it. Clover Studios stuff, like Okami or Beautiful Joe, that I'm a little less likely to do. I totally did God Hand, hell yeah. I mean, if you go into like the Platinum Games universe, then I can see myself doing stuff like that. I might even make an exception for Bayonetta. Have I ever met a fan who was not a friend at a convention? A couple of times. Not many, but it's happened. Like, I've had 1 or 2 people get pictures with me and 1 person get an autograph. It's weird, just because I'm doing this particular Q&A as a sort of commemoration for having broken 4,000 subscribers, which is, again, it's really weird to me that's a thing that would happen with someone like me. But in the grand scheme of things, 4,000 people in the world, out of like 7 billion, so the odds that one of them would be in the same place that I am is pretty crazy. So how was the experience? It was cool. Again, it's weird that it would happen, but it was super flattering. Would I prefer playing a game on console or PC if both were convenient to play? Just for recording purposes, probably console. A lot of times PCs have better ports, but recording on PC, there's just more that can go wrong. There's frame rate issues. Console, I just have an easier time doing the actual recording. Have I ever met celebrities during my convention visits? Oh yeah. Just at this past MagFest, I actually got the autographs of Alexander Brandon and Grant Kirkhope. Alexander Brandon did music for the original Deus Ex, Dust Elysian Tale, and Alpha Protocol. Grant Kirkhope did music for my from a lot of people's childhoods. Not everyone played Deus Ex, even though I love that game to death, but Grant Kirkhope did Banjo-Kazooie, the music. I think Donkey Kong 64. I believe Perfect Dark. Not 100% on Perfect Dark, but GoldenEye. So that was super cool. And I also met Keiji Inafune, who did Mega Man. And at previous MagFests, this is embarrassing, but I forgot her name, but I met the composer for the original Castlevania. I met Yuzo Koshiro, who did the music for the Streets of Rage series. at one of the Otakons I went to, I met Crispin Freeman, who's a very prolific voice actor. He's probably more well known for Alucard from Hellsing, but he also did Albedo from Xenosaga, Itachi from Naruto, Alan Gabriel from the Big O. He's been around, and I'm not 100% on this one, but Skullface from Ground Zeroes, that really sounded like him. I might be wrong, but that really sounded like him. Oh yes, and of course at PAX East, I want to say 2012, I met Suda51, which was crazy. Are there any like siblings or cousins I'm close to, and how do their gaming interests compare to mine? Well, I have a brother, and I have a couple of first cousins. My cousins aren't really into gaming. My younger cousin did like NHL stuff too when he was in college, so he was more for like getting friends over and playing, but competitively. My brother, he had a Wii U, but eventually sold it because he just didn't play it. But he did play through Red Dead Redemption, and I think he's currently going through The Last of Us now. He's not all over gaming, but he still does it. And I don't know if he has Grand Theft Auto 5, but he definitely has 4. And he played San Andreas back when we lived together. Have I always been an East Coaster, or have I spent lots of time in other parts of the country? I lived in Wisconsin for 2 years when I was like 5 and 6 years old, but otherwise, East Coast. I've lived in Massachusetts, Wisconsin, New York, New Jersey, so let's just go ahead and say East Coast. And finally, what time of day do I usually record my stuff? Late evening, like at nighttime. Probably more nighttime, just because it's a quieter time of day. We're not getting phone calls, which will kill any recording. And everyone around me is kind of, again, quieted down. There's not people milling about or conversing or eating or whatever. Tiki Sensei, why do I only wear Alice shirts for LPs? Why not other gaming shirts? You know, you wouldn't think so, but believe it or not, Alice is mostly what I have. I'm just particularly passionate about it. I have 2 Alice shirts. This one and my Madness Returns shirt, which I wear for when I end videos, or end Let's Plays. I do have, though, You Have Died of Dysentery shirt that Vice got me. That was pretty funny. And I actually do have 2 Resident Evil shirts. One of them I've worn very rarely, though. I wore it for my Resident Evil Let's Plays, and I believe for my Resident Evil 2 comparison video. It's got the hunk mask on it with the umbrella logo. I do have one other Resident Evil shirt which you have not seen, which I'll wear for remake. I like that one, it cracks me up. What was the hardest game I've ever played? That's tough. Because the only game I've ever been like, that's it, I can't beat this, was Hitman 2. But it's not because it was just so hard, it was because it was a mission where I had to assassinate a particular target by sniping him from a window, but I didn't know which freaking target to pick because the clues were intentionally vague, so I had to deduce it. And this is when I was in like late middle school or early high school, probably high school. And eventually I was like, forget this, because when I messed up I had to restart the whole mission. So if I felt like using game facts, I could probably knock it out, but man, Hitman 2 is rough. You can't make any mistakes, otherwise it turns into a bloodbath, which you're probably gonna be the recipient of, if that made any kind of grammatical sense. Otherwise, again, hardest game, I don't know, but Galarian's Ash, I spent a full hour trying and dying on that final boss. That was the freaking worst. But hardest overall game, I don't know if I really have an answer for that. I really don't. And a lot of people are tempted to say that Demon Souls and Dark Souls are Nintendo hard. They're not. They're unforgiving in terms of deaths. You better go back to where you died and kill that thing. But I would say they're more long than hard. Not good enough? Level up. I mean, it does take practice. It takes actual gameplay, but it's more time than pure pain. I don't know. Hardest game, I don't know. I really don't. Most fun? That's tough. There's a lot of fun stuff. Resident Evil 4, again, was way up there. Typing in the data, I have fun just kind of mindlessly going through it, just typing away, kill it in a half hour, no problem. Some of the Sega Genesis stuff I played growing up was a lot of fun, like Sonic 2 and Streets of Rage 2. Favorite game, can't put an answer on it. I might be able to give you favorite in the genre, like Deus Ex, I would say is favorite FPS, even though it's got RPG elements. Favorite horror, maybe Silent Hill 2 or Eternal Darkness. Yeah, beat 'em up, possibly Streets of Rage 2. That's kind of a tougher one. I don't know. Have I ever run into one of my students at a convention? No. Although, amusingly enough, I went to a Too Many Games with my co-op partner, Pyro Jack Frost, who was also a teacher, and we ran into one of his students there. That was a little weird, so I was just kind of standing to the side, like, I'll just let you take this one. Would I ever Let's Play Jak and Daxter? I've never played them, although I have them. Maybe. I wouldn't say no. And finally, Baracus. Any interest in LPing the Metroid Prime series? Again, not a priority. You're not going to believe this, but I never really got into the Metroid games, even Super Metroid. I love watching them. But I never really got into playing them. Super Metroid, I actually got bored and just stopped. I was playing in an emulator, and I think I even got toward the end of the game. I think I only had one boss left, or maybe I even beat all the bosses and unlocked the final area, and I was just like, I'm done. Like, I actually just stopped. Which is heresy, I know, but sorry. I might feel different if I played it now, but I couldn't be interested enough back then. I did get through the first Metroid Prime, though. I think I borrowed a friend's copy. It was pretty cool. Weird first-person platforming aside. At this point, I have the trilogy on the Wii, so I could. Again, I wouldn't just outright quash it, but not really a priority. But I can see myself doing it. And so, those are the questions. Thank you all so much for your input. And even if you didn't ask anything, thank you so much for watching me for all this time. It really does mean a lot to me. This has been a fun Q&A. I hope to do more in the future. And of course, I hope to do more Let's Plays in the future. So this has been a blast. And thank you all once again. Until next time, everyone.